The pit of despair. Dank and chill, underground and windowless, lit by flickering torches. Frightening. Wesley lies in the center of the cage, chained and helpless. Something really frightening. A bloodless looking albino. Dead pale, he silently enters the pit, carrying a tray of food and medication. He puts it down.
Where am I?
The pit of despair.
He begins tending Wesley's wounds. Wesley winces.
Don't even think about...
Don't even think about trying to escape. These chains are far too thick. And don't dream of being rescued either. The only way in is secret, and only the prince, the count, and I know how to get out. In and out.
Then I'm here till I die.
Till they kill you, yeah.
Then why bother curing me?
The prince and count always insist on everyone being healthy before they're broken.
Torture.
The albino nods.
I can cope with torture.
The albino shakes his head.
You don't believe me?
You survived the fire swamp. You must be very brave. But nobody withstands the machine.
Buttercup, her face is sad, pallid, perhaps ill. She wanders down a corridor in Florin Castle. As she moves unseeing past an intersecting corridor, Prince Humperdinck and Count Rugen are watching her.
She's been like that ever since the fire swamp. It's my father's failing health that's upsetting her.
Of course.
King died that very night, and before the following dawn, Buttercup and Humperdinck were married.
Main square of Florin Castle. And if we thought it was packed before, we didn't know how many more could fit in this courtyard. Humperdinck, Rugen, and the Queen stand high on the balcony.
And at noon, she met her father's subjects again, this time as their queen.
My father's final words were...
Hold it, Grandpa.
And the scene freezes, Humperdinck caught in mid-sentence. The kid is half sitting now, not strong yet, but clearly stronger than when we first saw him.
You read that wrong. She doesn't marry Humperdinck. She marries Wesley. I'm just sure of it. After all that Wesley did for her, if she does not marry him, it wouldn't be fair.
Well, who says life is fair? Where is that written? Life isn't always fair.
I'm telling you, you're messing up the story now. Get it right.
Do you want me to go on with this?
Yes.
All right, then. No more interruptions. At noon, she met her subjects again, this time as their queen.
My father's final words were, love her as I loved her, and there will be joy. I present to you your queen, Queen Buttercup.
Again, the bugles play a loud fanfare. The archway we saw before as Buttercup emerges. The crowd suddenly goes to its knees, wave after wave of silent, kneeling people, all of them down. Suddenly,
boo! Boo! Boo!
Why do you do this?
Because you had love in your hands and you gave it up.
But they would have killed Wesley if I hadn't done it.
Your true love lives and you marry another. True love saved her in the fire swamp and she treated it like garbage. And that's what she is, queen of refuse. So bow to her if you want. Bow to her. Bow to the queen of slime, the queen of filth, the queen of putrescence. Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo! Boo!
he advances on Buttercup now, who is more and more panicked. Louder and louder and louder she streaks vituperation at Buttercup, reaching out her old hands toward Buttercup's throat, and Buttercup is as frightened now as Dorothy was when the witch went after her in The Wizard of Oz, and suddenly Buttercup comes out of her nightmare, alone in her castle bedroom.
It was 10 days till the wedding. The king still lived, but Buttercup's nightmares were getting steadily worse.
See? Didn't I tell you she'd never marry that rotten Humperdinck?
Yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
Buttercup bursts into the prince's chambers. Count Rugen stands nearby.
It comes to this. I love Wesley. I always have. I know now I always will. If you tell me I must marry you in 10 days, please believe I'll be dead by morning.
I could never cause you grief. Consider our wedding off. You return this Wesley to his ship?
Yes.
Then we will simply alert him. Beloved, are you certain he still wants you? After all, it was you who did the leaving in the fire swamp. Not to mention that pirates are not known to be men of their words.
My Wesley will always come for me.
I suggest a deal. You write 4 copies of a letter. I'll send my 4 fastest ships, one in each direction. The dread pirate Robert is always close to Florida's idea. We'll run up the white flag and deliver your message. If Wesley wants you, bless you both. If not, please consider me as an alternative to suicide. Are we agreed?
And she nods. A very thick grove of trees. The trees are unusual in one respect. All of them are extraordinarily heavily knotted. Humperdinck and Rugen walk into the grove of trees.
Your princess is really a winning creature. A trifle simple, perhaps, but her appeal is undeniable.
Oh, I know. The people are quite taken with her. It's odd. But when I hired Vizzini to have her murdered on our engagement day, I thought that was clever. But it's going to be so much more moving when I strangle her on our wedding night. Once Gilder is blamed, the nation will be truly outraged. They'll demand we go to war.
They are deeper into the grove now. Rugen is searching around.
Now, where is that secret knot? It's impossible to find.
Finding the knot on the tree, he hits it, and it opens, revealing a staircase leading underground.
Are you coming down into the pit? Wesley's got his strength back. I'm starting him on the machine tonight.
Tyrone, you know how much I love watching you. But I got my country's 500th anniversary to plan, my wedding to arrange, my wife to murder, and Gilder to frame for it. I'm swamped.
Get your rest. If you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything.
Rugen smiles and hurries down the stairs as the tree slides back perfectly into place. An enormous thing. You can't tell quite what it is or what it does, but somehow it is unsettling. The albino wheels Wesley, who is strapped to a table, up alongside the thing. Levers and wheels and wires, you name it, it's there.
Beautiful, isn't it?
The albino starts attaching suction cups to Wesley.
It took me half a lifetime to invent it. I'm sure you discovered my deep abiding interest in pain. At present, I'm writing the definitive work on the subject. So, I want you to be totally honest with me on how the machine makes you feel.
Wesley has suction cups on his temples, on his chest, and on his abdomen. He says nothing, keeps control of himself. A lever with numbers ranging from a low of 1 to a high of 50. Rugen goes to it.
This, being our first try, I'll use the lowest setting.
And he lifts the lever to 1. A floodgate opens, water pours down the chute, turning the wheel, which in turn really gets the machine going. Wesley is lying on the table, and he's only flesh, and the chains are metal and thick, but such is his desperation, it almost seems he might break him. A terrible sound comes from his throat, and his gasping keeps on coming as finally, mercifully, Count Rugen stretches off the machine, picks up a large notebook and pen, sits in a chair. The noise of the machine subsides. Rugen opens the book to a blank page.
As you know, the concepts of suction pump are centuries old. Well, really, that's all this is, except that instead of sucking water, I'm sucking life. I've just sucked away 1 year of your life away. I might one day go as high as 5, but I really don't know what that would do to you. So let's start with what we have. What did this do to you? Tell me. And remember, this is for posterity, so be honest. How do you feel?
Wesley, in anguish so deep it is dizzying. Helpless, he cries. Count Ruben watches the tears, then starts to write.
Interesting.
Humperdinck is in his quarters, swamped. Piles of papers are strewn all over. Now Yellen, a pale, shifty, quick-eyed man, appears in the doorway.
Yo,
Sire,
as Chief Enforcer of all Florn, I trust you with this secret. Killers from Gilder are infiltrating the thieves' force and plan to murder my bride on our wedding night.
my spy network has heard no such news.
Buttercup enters.
Any word from Wesley?
Too soon, my angel. Patience.
He will come for me.
Of course.
And as she glides out,
She will not be murdered. On the day of the wedding, I want the thieves' force emptied and every inhabitant arrested.
Many of the thieves will resist. My regular enforcers will be inadequate.
Form a brute squad, then. I want the thieves' force emptied before I wed.
It won't be easy, sire.
Try ruling the world sometime.
the Thieves' Forest, day. A lot of hollering is going on. The thieves are being rounded up by the brute squad, a large group of large men. Yellen stands on a wagon in the midst of all the scuffling.
The day of the wedding arrived. The brute squad had their hands full, carrying out Humperdinck's orders.
Is everybody out?
Almost. There's a Spaniard giving us some trouble.
Well, you give him some trouble. Move.
And his wagon starts, and as it does, Inigo, drunk as a skunk, sprawled in front of a hovel, a bottle of brandy in one hand, the six-fingered sword in the other. He looks dreadful, unshaven, puffy-eyed, gaunt. But the way he brandishes the great sword in front of him would give anyone cause for worry.
I am waiting for you, Vicini. You told me to go back to the beginning. So I have. This is where I am, and this is where I'll stay. I will not be moved.
He takes a long pull from his brandy bottle. He stops as the assistant brute comes into view.
Hold there!
I do not budge. Keep your hole there.
He waves his sword dangerously.
But the prince gave orders.
So did Vicini. When a job went wrong, he went back to the beginning. And this is where we got the job. So it's the beginning. And I'm staying until Vicini comes.
You, brute! Come here!
I am waiting for Vicini.
Sure, me.
Hands grasp the front of Inigo's vest and pull him to his feet. Huge hands. Inigo compares them to one of his own, smaller hand. He looks up and sees a smiling face peering down at him.
Hello.
It's you.
True.
And as the assistant brute is just about to club Inigo's brains out, Fezzik lets fly with a stupendous punch. The assistant brute takes the full force of the blow right in the chops. It's like he was shot from a cannon as he careens backwards out of sight across the street. There is a pause. Then a crunching sound, as he clearly has come in contact with something hard and immobile.
You don't look so good.
Inigo blasts air, Fezzik's face in protest.
You don't smell so good either.
Perhaps not. I feel fine.
Yeah?
Fezzik releases his grasp on Inigo. That's when Inigo falls on his face in a dead faint. Inigo sits slumped in a chair while Fezzik spoons him some stew.
Fezzik and Inigo were reunited. And as Fezzik nursed his inebriated friend back to health, he told Inigo of Vicini's death and the existence of Count Rugen, the six-fingered man. Considering Inigo's lifelong search, he handled the news surprisingly well.
And Inigo faints again, face down into his stew.
Fezzik took great care in reviving Inigo.
2 large tubs, one filled with steaming water, the other with water clearly of an icy nature. Without a word, Fezzik stuffs Inigo's head into the icy water, then, after a reasonable amount of time, pulls him out, ducks him into the steaming stuff, and, a short time after that, puts him back in the cold again, then back in the hot.
That's enough! That's enough! Where is this Rugen so I may kill him?
He's with the prince in the castle, but the castle gate is guarded by 30 men.
How many could you handle?
I don't think any more than 10.
Leaving 20 for me. At my best, I could never defeat them. I need Vicini to plan. I have no gifts for strategy.
But Vicini's dead.
Silent and bereft. Then, a wild look hits Inigo.
No, not Vicini. I need the man in black.
What?
Look, he bested you with strength, your greatness. He bested me with steel. He must have outthought Vicini. And a man that can do that can plan my castle's onslaught any day. Let's go.
Where?
To find the man in black, obviously.
But you don't know where he is.
Do not bother me with trifles. After 20 years at last, my father's soul will be at peace. There will be blood tonight.
Prince Humperdinck's chambers, strewn with maps, etc. Yellen enters and kneels.
Rise and report.
The thieves' purse is empty. 30 men guard the castle gate.
Doublet, my princess must be safe.
The gate has but one key, and I carry that.
He shows the key, dangling from a chain around his neck. Just at that moment, Buttercup enters.
Ah, my dulcet darling. Tonight we marry. Tomorrow morning, your men will escort us to Florin Channel, where every ship in my armada waits to accompany us on our honeymoon.
Every ship that you're full fastest, you mean?
The prince looks at her blankly for a moment.
Every ship but the 4 you sent.
Yes, yes, of course. Naturally, not those 4.
Yellen bows.
Your Majesty.
He exits. Buttercup stares at Humperdinck.
Never sent the ships. Don't bother lying. It doesn't matter. Wesley will come for me anyway.
You're a silly girl.
Yes, I am a silly girl for not having seen sooner that you were nothing but a coward with a heart full of fear.
I would not say such things if I were you.
Why not? You can't hurt me. Wesley and I are joined by bonds of love, and you cannot track that, not with 1,000 bloodhounds, and you cannot break it, not with 1,000 swords. And when I say you are a coward, that is only because you are the slimiest weakling ever to crawl the earth.
Humperdinck jumps at her, yanking her by the arm, starting to pull her along out of control, his words indistinct.
I will not say such things if I were you.
The prince throws open the door to Buttercup's room, slams it shut, locks it, breaks into a wild run, and pit of despair. Wesley is in the machine, but it is not on. Count Rugen is adding more notes to his book. He looks up as the prince suddenly comes down the steps, raging.
You truly love each other, and so you might have been truly happy. Not one couple in a century has that chance, no matter what the storybook says. And so I think no man in a century will suffer as greatly as you will.
And with that, he whirls around to the machine, grabs the lever, and...
No, not 50!
But it's too late, as Prince Humperdinck shoves the lever all the way up. And there has never been such pain. The pain grows and grows, and with it, now something else has started. The death scream. Death scream starts to rise outside the pit of despair as the sound moves along louder and louder. Focus on Yellen and his 60 brutes, and they hear it. And a few of the brutes turn to each other in fear, and as the scream builds, Buttercup in her room, she hears the sound, doesn't know what it is, but her arms involuntarily go around her body to try to conceal the trembling, and the scream still builds, and there are many people. It is the day of the country's 500th anniversary, but all the people stop as the sound hits them. A few children, pale, bolt towards their parents, and Inigo and Fezzik trying to make their way through the jammed marketplace, which suddenly quiets as the fading sound comes through.
Physic! Listen, do you hear? That is the sound of ultimate suffering. My heart made that sound when Rugen slaughtered my father. The man in black makes it now.
The man in black?
His true love is marrying another tonight. So who else has the cause for ultimate suffering? Excuse me.
It's too crowded.
Pardon me. It's important.
No one budges, and the sound is fading faster.
Physic, please.
And the crowd begins to fall away, and he and Inigo start to track the fading sound.
Thank you.
A grove of trees near the pit of despair. The albino appears, wheeling a barrow. Inigo's sword pushes at his chest.
Where is the man in black?
The albino shakes his head, says nothing.
You get there from his grove, yes?
Silence.
Physic, jog his memory.
And Fezzik crunches the albino on the top of the head as if he had a hammer and was driving in a nail. The albino drops without a sound.
I'm sorry, Indigo. I didn't mean to drag him so hard. Indigo?
Inigo is kneeling, the sword held tight between his hands. Eyes closed, he faces the grove of trees, starts to talk, his voice low and strange.
Father, I have failed you for 20 years. Now our misery can end. Somewhere close by is a man who can help us. I cannot find him alone. I need you. I need you to guide my sword. Please.
Now he rises, eyes still closed.
Guide my sword.
Inigo, eyes shut tightly, walks forward, the great sword held in his hand. Fezzik watches. Inigo, eyes still closed, walks blind through the grove of trees. He moves toward the secret knot, hesitates, then moves past it. Then Inigo stops. For a long moment, he stands frozen. Suddenly, he whirls, eyes still closed, and the sword strikes home, dead center into a knot, and nothing. He has failed. In utter despair, he collapses against the tree, against a knot in the tree, against the knot in the tree. It slides away, revealing the staircase. Fezzik and Inigo look at each other, then start down. Wesley, dead by the machine. Fezzik leans over him, listening for a heartbeat. Then he looks at Inigo, shakes his head.
He's dead.
Just is not fair.
Grandpa, wait!
Kid is terribly excited and looks stronger than we've yet seen him.
Wait, what did Fezzik mean? He's dead? I mean, he didn't mean dead.
The grandfather says nothing, just sits there.
Wesley's only faking, right?
Want me to read this or not?
Who gets Humperdinck?
I don't understand.
Who kills Prince Humperdinck? At the end, somebody's got to do it. Is it Inigo? Who?
Nobody. Nobody kills him. He lived.
You mean he wins? Jesus, Grandpa! What did you read me this thing for?
You know, you've been very sick, and you're taking the story very seriously. I think we better stop now.
Closes the book and starts to get up.
No, I'm okay. Sit down, all right?
Okay. All right, where were we? Ah, yes. In the pit of despair.
We're back in the pit. The same shot as before. For a moment, he just sags.
Well, we Montoyas have never taken defeat easily. Come along, Fezzik. Bring the body.
The body?
Have you any money?
I have a little.
I just hope it's enough to buy a miracle, that's all.
A hovel. Dusk. Inigo, Fezzik, Wesley approach the door. They knock. From inside the hovel, a little man's voice is heard. If Mel Brooks's 2,000-year-old man was really old, he'd resemble this guy.
Go away!
Inigo pounds again. A small window opens in the door.
What?
Are you the Miracle Max who worked for the king all those years?
The king's stinking son fired me. Thank you so much for bringing up such a painful subject. While you're at it, why don't you just give me a nice paper cut and pour lemon juice on it? We're closed.
He shuts the window. They rap on the door. Miracle Max opens the window again.
Beat it, or I'll call the Brute Squad.
I'm on the Brute Squad.
You are the Brute Squad.
We need a miracle. It's very important.
Look, I'm retired, and besides, why would you want the king's stinking son fired? I might kill whoever you want, Miracle.
He's already dead.
He is? I'll take a look. Bring him in.
He unlocks the door and lets them in. Inigo and Fezzik hurry inside. Fezzik carries Wesley, who is just starting to stiffen up a little. He lays Wesley down across a bench by the fireplace. Miracle Max picks Wesley's arm up and lets it drop, limp.
I've seen worse.
He studies Wesley a moment, checking here, checking there.
Sir, we're really in a terrible rush.
Don't rush me, Sonny. You rush a miracle man, you get rotten miracles. You got money?
65?
Sheesh. I never worked for so little, except once, and there was a very noble cause.
Oh, this is noble, sir. His wife is crippled. His children are on the brink of starvation.
Are you a rotten liar?
I need him to help avenge my father, murdered these 20 years.
Your first story was better. Where's that Bellows? He probably owes you money, huh? Well, I ask him.
He goes to get a huge bellows.
He's dead. He can't talk.
Look who knows so much. Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead. There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead. Please, open his mouth.
Inigo does. Max inserts the bellows in Wesley's mouth and starts to pump.
Now, mostly dead is slightly alive. Now, all dead. Well, with all dead, you can usually only do one thing.
What is that?
Go through his clothes and look for loose change. Hey, hello in there. Hey, what's so important? What you got here that's worth living for?
And he presses lightly on Wesley's chest. Everybody stares at Wesley lying there on the bench.
True love, you heard him. You could not ask for a more noble cause than that.
Sonny, true love is the greatest thing in the world. Except for a nice MLT, a mutton, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, where the mutton is nice and lean and the tomato is ripe. Oh, they're so perky. I love that. But that's not what he said. He distinctly said, to blave. And as we all know, to blave means to bluff. So you were probably playing cards and he cheated.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
Valerie, an ancient fury, storms out of the back room and towards Miracle Max.
Get back, witch!
I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. But after what you just said, I'm not sure I want to be that anymore.
You never had it so good.
True love, you said. True love, Max. My God.
Say another word, Valerie.
He's afraid. Ever since Prince Humperdinck fired him, his confidence is shattered.
Why'd you say that name? You promised me again you would never say that name.
What, Humperdinck? Humperdinck, 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 Humperdinck.
I'm not listening.
True love dies expiring and you don't have the decency to say you won't help?
Nobody's hearing nothing.
Humperdinck, Humperdinck, Humperdinck,
But
Humperdinck.
this is true love.
Humperdinck,
This is but enough true love.
Humperdinck, Humperdinck.
You heal him,
Humperdinck,
you'll stop
Humperdinck,
Humperdinck's wedding.
Humperdinck,
Cha. Wait. I make him better? Humperdinck suffers?
Humiliations galore.
That is a noble cause. Give me the 65. I'm on the job.
Valerie shrieks excitedly. The magic pill. Valerie, cooking utensil in hand, covers the pill with what looks like chocolate. Inigo and Fezzik stare at the thing too, but more dubiously.
That's a miracle pill?
Max nods.
The chocolate coating makes it go down easier, but you have to wait 15 minutes for full potency. And you shouldn't go swimming after at least what?
Hour.
Yeah, an hour.
A good hour, yeah.
Inigo accepts the pill as Fezzik takes Wesley, who is stiff as a board now.
Thank you for everything.
Okay.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle. Bye.
Bye.
Fezzik, Inigo, and Wesley at the top of the outer wall of the castle. They look down to the front gate of the castle. The 60 brutes are visible. Fezzik is thunderstruck by how many brutes there are. Upset, he turns to Inigo, who is concentrating unsuccessfully, trying to prop Wesley against the wall.
Inigo, there's more than 30.
What's the difference? We got him. Help me here. We'll have to force feed him.
Has it been 15 minutes?
We can't wait. The wedding's in half an hour, and we must strike in the hustle and bustle beforehand.
During this, Fezzik, using all his strength, has managed to get Wesley into a right-angled sitting position, while Inigo brings out the miracle pill.
Tilt his head back. Open his mouth.
How long do we have to wait before we know the miracle works?
Inigo, pill in hand, he drops it into Wesley's mouth.
Your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine.
Ah, I'll beat you with the pots. I'll take them all together.
I guess not very long.
Inigo and Fezzik react. Wesley is the only one not amazed.
Why won't my arms move?
He sits there, immobile, like a ventriloquist dummy.
You've been mostly dead all day.
We had Miracle Max make a pill to bring you back.
Who are you? Are we enemies? Why am I on this wall? Where's Buttercup?
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up. Buttercup is marrying Humperdinck in a little less than half an hour. So now all we have to do is get in, break up the wedding, steal the princess, make our escape after I kill Count Rugen.
Doesn't leave much time for dilly-dallying.
He is watching his fingers, one of which twitches now.
You've wiggled your finger. That's wonderful.
I've always been a quick healer. What are our liabilities?
There is but one working castle gate.
Fezzik helps Inigo raise Wesley just high enough so he can see for himself.
And it is guarded by 60 men.
That's it? And our assets?
Your brains, Fezzik strength, my steel.
That's it? Impossible. If I had a month to plan, maybe I could come up with something. But this?
He shakes his head from side to side.
You just shook your head. Doesn't that make you happy?
My brains, his steel, and your strength against 60 men. You think a little head jiggle is supposed to make me happy? I mean, if we only had a wheelbarrow, that would be something.
Why did we put that wheelbarrow the albino had?
Over the albino, I think.
Why didn't you list that among our assets in the first place? Oh, what I wouldn't give for a Holocaust cloak.
There we cannot help you.
Oh, well, let's do.
Where did you get that?
At Miracle Max's. If it's so nice, he said I could keep it.
All right. Come on, help me up.
Inigo and Fezzik do.
Now, I'll need a sword eventually.
Why? You can't even lift one.
True, but that's hardly common knowledge, is it? Ugh. Thank you. Now, there may be problems once we're inside.
I'll say, how do I find the Count? Once I do, how do I find you again? Once I find you again, how do we escape?
Don't pester him. He's had a hard day.
Right. Sorry.
They move along the wall in silence for a time. Then these words come up on the wind.
Indigo,
What?
I hope it rains.
Buttercup in her bridal gown, and she's incredible. It's not just her beauty, there's a tranquility about her now. The prince is fastening a pearl necklace around her neck.
You don't seem excited, my little muffin.
I think
Brides often are, I'm told.
I do not marry tonight. My Wesley will save me.
A slow, sly smile comes across Humperdinck's face. Wesley is looking down at the gate with Inigo and Fezzik, the main gate of the castle, and Yellen standing there, flanked by his 60 brutes. Wesley and Inigo and Fezzik look out at the enemy. This is it. Inigo and Fezzik clasp hands. Wesley can't even do that, but after a bit of rocking back and forth, he manages to get enough momentum to catapult his arm over and onto his friends. An absolutely gem-like little chapel. The most intelligent looking, the most impressive appearing clergyman imaginable. Buttercup and Humperdinck kneel before the clergyman. Behind them sit the mumbling old king and queen. Standing in the back is Count Rugen. 4 guards are in position flanking the chapel door.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
He has an impediment that would stop a clock.
Marriage. That blessed arrangement, that dream within a dream.
And now, from outside the castle, there begins to come a commotion. And then...
Stand your ground, men! Stand your ground!
The brutes and Yellen by the gate, for it is indeed they who are making the commotion, frightened, pointing.
Stand your ground!
And it is a bit unnerving. A giant seems to be floating toward them out of the darkness. A giant in a strange cloak and with a voice that would crumble walls.
I am the great Pearl Robbers! There will be no survivors!
And he seems to be floating because he's standing in the wheelbarrow. As Inigo, hidden behind him, busts a gut by pushing it and supporting Wesley.
No! Not yet.
The giant floats closer.
My men are here, and I am here, but soon you will not be here.
Yellen, keeping the brutes in position, or trying to, shouting orders, instructions, and as yet the brutes hold. Now, Inigo struggles bravely under Wesley and Fezzik's combined weight.
No! I didn't.
The giant bursts suddenly, happily, into flame.
The great Pearl Robbers take no survivors. The worst nightmares are about to get real.
In the chapel, where the impressive clergyman plows on.
Then love, true love, will follow you forever.
Prince Humperdinck turns quickly, giving a sharp nod to Count Rugen, who immediately takes off out of the chapel with the 4 guards. Fezzik is flaming and scary as hell.
The great Pearl Robbers is here for your soul.
Suddenly, the brutes just scream and take off in a wild panic.
Stay where you are! I said, stay where you are!
Meanwhile, back inside the chapel.
So, treasure your love.
Skip to the end.
Have you the ring?
As Humperdinck whips out the ring, the screams are very loud outside.
Here comes my Wesley now.
Back to Fezzik as he pulls off the Holocaust cloak.
Fezzik, the portcullis.
Fezzik rushes forward, grabbing the portcullis. which is indeed closing quickly. Fezzik grabs the gate and swings the tonnage back upward. Yellen just watches in fear. Back to the chapel. Humperdinck shoves the ring on Buttercup's finger.
Yo, Wesley is dead.
Buttercup only smiles, shakes her head.
I killed him myself.
Why is there fear behind your eyes?
Yellen pressed against the main gate. Wesley, Inigo, and Fezzik close in.
Give us the gate key.
I have no gate key.
There's arms off.
Fezzik steps towards him.
Oh, you mean this key?
And he whips it out, hands it to Fezzik. Back to Humperdinck and Buttercup and the impressive clergyman.
And do you, Princess Buttercup?
Man and wife. Say man and wife.
Man and wife.
Escort the bride to the honeymoon suite. I'll be there shortly.
And as he dashes off, Buttercup's standing there, dazed.
He didn't come.
Count Rugen and his 4 warriors race through the castle, and as they reach a complex intersection of several corridors, Rugen stops, incredulous, as he sees Wesley, Inigo, and Fezzik moving towards them. Actually, Fezzik is dragging Wesley, who is in turn dragging Yellen's sword like a stiff dog leash. Wesley simply hasn't the strength to raise it. The confrontation is about to start.
To the dock, one, and the giant, but leave the third one for questioning.
And as his warriors attack, Inigo goes wild, and maybe the warriors are good, maybe they're even better than that, but they never get a chance to show it because this is something now. This is Inigo gone mad, and the 6-fingered sword has never flashed faster, and the 4th warrior is dead before the first one has even hit the floor. There is a pause. Then...
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
For a moment, Count Rugen just stands there, sword in hand. Then, he does a most unexpected thing. He turns and runs the hell away. Inigo is momentarily surprised, then takes off after him, leaving Wesley and Fezzik to exchange curious looks. Rugen, running through a half-open, heavy wooden door, shuts it and locks it just as Inigo throws himself against it. He tries again. No kind of chance.
Fezzik! I need you!
Fezzik with Wesley, who is still unable to walk under his own power. He calls back.
I can't get in my own.
Inigo is desperately pounding at the heavy door.
He is getting away from me, Fezzik! Please, Fezzik!
I'll be right back.
And he props Wesley up against a large suit of armor and takes off towards the intersection where Inigo's voice came from. Inigo is still hammering the door. Fezzik approaches, gestures for him to stop, and with one mighty swipe of his mighty hands, the door flies off its hinges.
Thank you.
And Inigo flies through as Fezzik heads back to Wesley. Buttercup is walking with the king and queen. The queen, more sprightly, is several paces ahead.
Strange wedding.
Yes, very strange wedding. Come along.
Buttercup gently stops the king and places a kiss on his cheek. He's very surprised and pleased.
What was that for?
Because you've always been so kind to me, and I won't be seeing you again since I'm killing myself once we reach the honeymoon suite.
Won't that be nice? She kissed me.
Count Rugen is running, dashing through corridors as he glances back behind him. Inigo is coming like a streak. Back at the intersection with the large suit of armor, Fezzik is gaping, staring at all those choices, trying to piece together the puzzle of the missing Wesley. Count Rugen is flashing out of one room, down a staircase, picking up his pace. He pulls out a deadly-looking dagger with a sharp point and a triangular-shaped blade, and sprints on, and Inigo is closing the gap, closer, and he's down the stairs and heading into the dining hall, and Count Rugen throwing the dagger. Inigo trying like hell to get out of the way, but no, and it sticks deep into his stomach, and he hurtles back helplessly from the wall of the room, his eyes glazed, blood coming from his wound. The room is going white on him.
Sorry, Father. I tried.
Count Rugen looks across the room at Inigo. He stares at Inigo's face and then touches his own cheeks as memory comes.
Must be that little Spanish brat I've taught a lesson to all those years ago. It's simply incredible. Have you been chasing me your whole life only to fail now? I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard. How marvelous.
Inigo sinks. Buttercup shuts the door of the honeymoon suite, crossing quietly to the far wall where she sits at a table, opens a jeweled box, and takes out a very deadly-looking dagger. She seems very much at peace as she touches the knife to her bosom.
The shortage of perfect breasts in this world. It would be a pity to damage girls.
Oh, Wesley, darling!
And Butter whirls and sees Wesley lying on the bed. Yellen's sword is beside him. His voice sounds just fine, but he does not move. Buttercup leaps to the bed, covering him with kisses. Wesley is helpless.
Wesley, why won't you hold me?
Gently.
At a time like this, that's all you can think to say? Gently?
Gently! Oh.
And she lets go, thumping his head against the headboard. Wesley groans. Count Rugen looks very much surprised.
Good heavens, are you still trying to win?
Inigo, struggling feebly, pulling the dagger from his stomach, holding the wound with his left hand. Rugen is pushing off from the table, sword in hand, moving in to kill Inigo.
You've got an overdeveloped sense of vengeance, and you're going to get into some trouble someday.
Inigo watches the Count approach, and the Count flicks his sword at Inigo's heart. There's not much Inigo can do, just kind of vaguely parry the thrust with the six-fingered sword, and Count Rugen's blade sinks deeply into Inigo's left shoulder. Inigo doesn't seem to feel it. His other agonies are so much worse. The Count steps back, going for the heart again, and as this blow comes, Inigo's trying to use the wall for support and forcing himself to his feet, and it's not a roaring success of an attempt, but he does at least make some progress. And again, he manages to parry the thrust, as this time Rugen's sword runs through his right arm. Again, Inigo doesn't seem to mind, doesn't even feel it. Count Rugen steps back for just a moment, watching as Inigo continues to inch his way to his feet, and then, just before the Count is about to strike again, Inigo manages a little flick of his own, and Rugen hadn't expected it, and he jumps back, makes a little involuntary cry of surprise. Inigo slowly pushes away from the wall.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Count Rugen, suddenly going into a fierce attack, striking with great power and precision, for he is a master swordsman, and he forces Inigo easily back, drives him easily into the wall, but he does not penetrate Inigo's defense. None of the Count's blows get home. As the Count steps back a moment, Inigo pushes slowly off from the wall again.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
And again, the Count attacks, slashing with wondrous skill, but none of his blows get through, and slowly, Inigo again moves forward.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Stop saying that!
Count Rugen retreats more quickly around the table. Inigo drives for the Count's left shoulder now, thrusts home where the Count had gotten him. Then another move, and his blade enters the Count's right shoulder, the same spot Inigo was wounded.
Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya! You killed my father! Prepare to die!
No!
Offer me money.
And now the six-fingered sword strikes, and there is a slash bleeding along one of Rugen's cheeks.
Yes.
Power 2. Promise me that.
The great sword flashes again, and now there is a parallel slash bleeding on Rugen's other cheek.
All that I have and more, please.
Offer me everything I ask for.
Anything you want.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
And on that, too fast for the eye to follow, the sword strikes one final time, and crying out in fear and panic as the sword hits home dead center, and the sword goes clear through the Count. They are almost frozen like that for a moment. Then Inigo withdraws his sword, and the Count pitches down. Rugen is lying dead. His skin is ashen, and the blood still pours from the parallel cuts on his cheeks, and his eyes are bulging wide, full of fear. Inside the honeymoon suite, Wesley lies as before. Not a muscle is moved. His head is still on the headboard, Yellen's sword at his side. Buttercup is alongside the bed. Her eyes never leave his face.
Wesley, will you ever forgive me?
What hideous sin have you committed, baby?
I got married, and I didn't want to. It all happened so fast.
It never happened.
What?
It never happened.
But it did. I was there. This old man said man and wife.
Did you say I do?
Well, no. We sort of skipped that part.
Then you're not married. If you didn't say it, you didn't do it. Wouldn't you agree, Your Highness?
Humperdinck enters the room, staring at them. He pulls out his sword.
A technicality that will shortly be remedied. But first things first. To the death!
No! To the pain.
I don't think I'm quite familiar with that phrase.
I'll explain. And I'll use small words that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
That may be the first time in my life a man has dared insult me.
It won't be the last. To the pain means the first thing you lose will be your feet below the ankles, then your hands at the wrist, next your nose.
And then my tongue, I suppose. I killed you too quickly the last time. A mistake I don't mean to duplicate tonight.
I wasn't finished. The next thing you lose will be your left eye, followed by your right.
And then my ears. I understand. Let's get on with it.
Wrong! Your ears you keep, and I'll tell you why.
Humperdinck now stops, and the look that was in his eyes at the wedding, that look of fear, is starting to return.
So that every shriek of every child that's seen your hideousness will be yours to cherish. Every babe that weeps at your approach, every woman who cries, "Dear God, what is that thing?" will echo in your perfect ears. That is what to the pain means. It means I leave you in anguish, wallowing in freakish misery forever.
I think you're bluffing.
It's possible, pig. I might be bluffing. It's conceivable, you miserable, vomitous mass. But I'm only lying here because I lack the strength to stand. Then again, perhaps I have the strength after all.
And now, slowly, Wesley begins to move. His body turns, his feet go to the floor, he starts to stand. Humperdinck stares, eyes wide. Wesley is now standing, sword in fighting position.
Drop your sword.
Prince Humperdinck is so panicked he doesn't know whether to pee or wind his watch. He throws his sword to the floor.
Have a seat. Time up. Make it as tight as you like.
And as she sets to work, Inigo enters, looking around.
Where is Physic?
I thought he was with you.
No.
In that case,
His balance betrays him.
Help him,
Why does Wesley need helping?
because he has no strength.
I knew it. I knew you're bluffing. I knew he was bluffing.
Shall I dispatch him for you?
Thank you, but no. What happened? Oh, sorry, I'm going to say that again. Thank you, but no. Whatever happens to us, I want him to live a long life, alone with his cowardice.
Indigo! Indigo, where are you?
They look at each other, then move to the balcony. They see Fezzik leading 4 great white horses. He glances up, sees them on the balcony.
Ah, there you are, Indigo. I saw the prince's stables, and there they were, 4 white horses. And I thought there were 4 of us. If we were ever to find a hello, lady. So I took them with me, in case we ever bumped into each other. I guess we just did.
Physic, you did something right.
Don't worry. I won't let it go to my head.
And he holds out his great arms, something unexpected and very lovely. Buttercup floating through the air. What's happening, of course, is that she's jumping from the balcony so Fezzik can catch her, but her fall is in slow motion, so you might think she was flying. Wesley and Inigo, watching as Fezzik catches Buttercup.
You know, it is very strange. I've been in the revenge business so long. Now that it's over, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life.
Have you ever considered piracy? You'd make a wonderful Dread Pirate Roberts.
The 4 glorious white horses with their 4 riders triumphantly racing through the night.
They rode to freedom, and as dawn arose, Wesley and Buttercup knew they were safe. A wave of love swept over them, and as they reached for each other...
The grandfather stops reading.
What? What?
No, it's kissing again. You don't want to hear it.
I don't mind so much.
He gestures for his grandfather to read.
Okay.
Buttercup and Wesley are locked in a deep, pure, and passionate kiss.
Since the invention of the kiss, there have been 5 kisses that were rated the most passionate, the most pure. This one left them all behind. The end.
The grandfather snaps the book closed.
And now, I think you ought to get some sleep.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. So long.
Grandpa?
The old man stops, turns.
Maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow.
As you wish.
And his smile is enough. As the grandfather steps out of the door, tipping his hat, final fade out. The end.
Yeah! Good, guys. That's great. Woo! That was great, guys. Oh,
That's awesome.
Yes. Dang it, guys, you made me cry. Oh, that was
That was
really incredible. I mean, it's not. I think that was just as good as those celebrities doing the read-throughs. I think we did a fantastic job. Like,
Thanks.
phenomenal, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Thank
hosting
you,
this.
Rob.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Lots
Rob.
of fun.
Oh, yeah, here's the big crybaby.
Yeah.
I swear, by the time I'm 60, I'm just going to be a big teardrop with arms and legs. I swear to God, my nose is red. I'm crying. Woo.
Come, my love, I'll tell you a tale of a boy and their love story. How he loved her oh so much, and all the charms she did possess. Now this did happen once upon a time, when things were not so complex, and how he worshipped the ground she walked. When he looked in her eye, he became obsessed. My love is like a storybook story, but it's as real as the feelings I feel. My love is like a storybook story, but it's as real as the feelings I feel. But it's as real as the feelings I feel. This love was stronger than the power so story, but it's as real as the feelings I feel. My love is like a storybook story.